The domestication of goats in the Zagros Mountains. Origins, practices, and global dispersal goats, Capra hircus, are among the earliest domesticated animals and played a pivotal role in the Neolithic transition from hunter-gatherer societies to settled agriculture in the Near East. Archaeological and genetic evidence strongly indicates that the foothills and highlands of the Zagros Mountains in western Iran served as a primary center for their initial domestication around 10,000 to 10,500 years ago, approximately 8,200 to 9,600 Cal. BC. This process, managed by early villagers, marked a major milestone in human-animal relationships, supplying reliable sources of food, materials, and labor that supported growing populations. The wild ancestor and location of domestication. The primary wild progenitor is the bezoar ibex, or wild goat, Capra egagrus, a nimble, hardy animal native to the rugged mountainous terrains of the Zagros and Taurus ranges in Iran, Iraq, and Turkey. These agile climbers are well adapted to steep, arid to semi-arid environments with distinctive scimitar-shaped horns in males. Key evidence comes from sites such as Ganj Dare or Ganj Dara and Tepe Abdul Hossein in the central Zagros. Ganj Dara, occupied briefly around 10,000 to 9,600 years ago, has produced some of the earliest signs of goat management. Excavations in the 1960s to 1970s and analyses by researchers including Melinda Zeter and Brian Hesse revealed demographic patterns inconsistent with wild hunting, a strong bias toward culling young males around 2 years old, while keeping older females for breeding and milk production. This selective harvesting is a classic marker of early herding. Ancient DNA studies provide further confirmation. Genomes from goat remains at these sites, the oldest livestock genomes sequenced, show managed herds genetically diverging from wild populations, with long runs of homozygosity indicating controlled breeding. Hoof impressions in mud bricks at Ganj Dare suggest goats were kept near settlements. Morphological changes, such as size reduction, appeared later, around 1,000 years after initial management, showing domestication as a gradual multi-stage process of spatial control, demographic manipulation, and eventual phenotypic selection. Early villagers in these aceramic Neolithic, pre-pottery communities likely began by attracting or corralling wild goats near their fields of early cultivated grains like barley and wheat. The Zagros environment, with its diverse vegetation and proximity to farming settlements, offered ideal conditions for this transition. How domestication occurred and early uses. Beyond meat. Domestication was an extended process rather than a single event. Early herders practiced biased male culling to manage herd size and genetics, allowing females to live longer for reproduction and secondary products. Genetic diversity remained relatively high initially, consistent with small-scale management. While meat was important, goats provided many other resources. Milk. One of the earliest dairy sources, nutritious and easier to digest than cow milk for some people, could be processed into yogurt or cheese. Hair and fiber, used for clothing, tents, ropes, and textiles, including early cashmere-like undercoats. Skins and hides, versatile for leather, water/wine bags, clothing, shelter, and parchment. Dung, valuable as fuel in wood-scarce highlands and as fertilizer. Other uses, bones and sinew for tools, horns for implements or ritual objects, an overall contribution to wealth and trade. Goats' adaptability to marginal lands made them ideal walking pantries for mobile or resource-limited groups. These multi-purpose benefits accelerated their integration into Neolithic economies alongside sheep, cattle, and crops. Spread from Iran and the Near East to the world, domestic goats spread rapidly with Neolithic farmers and pastoralists from the Zagros and broader Fertile Crescent. Westward, via Anatolia into Europe, Mediterranean and Danubian routes, by around 7,500 to 8,000 years ago. Eastward, across the Eurasian steppe to Central Asia, India, Southeast Asia, Mongolia, and China by approximately 4,500 years ago. Southward, to North Africa approximately 7,000 years ago, then further south with pastoralists, reaching South Africa by approximately 2,000 years ago. By the Bronze Age, goats accompanied explorers, traders, and colonists globally. Today, hundreds of breeds exist on every continent except Antarctica, totaling over 1 billion individuals. Genetic studies confirm multiple Near Eastern sources with limited later introgression from local wild capra species. Independent domestication in other regions. The primary domestication center was the Near East, Zagros, Taurus, and adjacent areas, with possible multiple management centers within the Fertile Crescent. Genetic evidence supports a mosaic process, but all domestic goats trace back to C. egregris populations in this region. There is no strong evidence for fully independent domestication outside the Near East. Claims for sites like Mehrgar in the Indus Valley or China represent introductions of already domesticated stock, followed by local breeding and admixture. Southeast Asian diversity likely reflects transport bottlenecks rather than separate origins. Goats' global success stems from their Near Eastern roots and human-mediated dispersal. Conclusion: enduring legacy. The domestication of goats by Zagros villagers around 10,000 years ago exemplifies human ingenuity. From highland settlements like Ganj Dareh, these animals supported the Neolithic Revolution, enabling surplus production, mobility, and cultural exchange. Their spread reshaped economies, diets, and landscapes worldwide. Modern goats continue to provide milk, meat, fiber, and ecological services, especially in challenging environments. Further interdisciplinary research combining archaeology, ancient DNA, isotopes, and ethnography will refine our understanding. Key references include Zeder and Hesse, 2000, in Science and Daily et al., 2021, in PNA.